NBA reporter proposes wild trade that lands Mikal Bridges with the New York Knicks. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. So Scott Davis from the Sporting News proposes this trade. The Knicks receive Mikal Bridges and the Brooklyn Nets receive Deuce McBride, Bojan Bogdanovic, and 6 first-round picks. That's right. You heard me right. 6 first-round picks. Now, before I dive into the article, just my thoughts and my takes regarding the trade itself. Listen, everything actually seems okay. Deuce McBride, Bojan Bogdanovic, but then when you mention the 6 first-round picks, that's when it starts getting a little iffy. That's when it starts to get a little dicey. Mikal Bridges is a fine player. He's a really good player. And if you take a look at his numbers right here for the past season, 19.6 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists, converting 43.6% from the field, 37.2% from three-point land, 81.4% from free throws. Mikal Bridges also with the 2021-2022 All-Defensive nod. Like, Mikal Bridges is a good player, don't get me wrong, but there's still a lot of questions regarding Mikal Bridges. Like, we all knew that he was a really good piece with the Phoenix Suns when he was with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Cam Johnson. We knew that he was a solid piece to that foundation of a team. Unfortunately, they weren't able to really do anything with that core group. But then when he went to the Brooklyn Nets in the trade that sent Kevin Durant to Phoenix, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, they went to Brooklyn. Like, he had half a season with Brooklyn Nets, and they were able to get to the playoffs, and they ended up getting their boots smoked in 4 games. And the reason why they were able to land in the playoffs that season was because of all the work Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant did for the majority of the season. And like I said, they ended up getting their boots smoked in the first round. They got swept by the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid messed his knee up in maybe like the second to last game of the series, or in the last game of the series, something like that. But then it was kind of hard to gauge what type of player Mikal Bridges was and what he was going to be, because the second half of that season, Mikal Bridges was showing glimpses of, oh, wow, maybe Mikal Bridges can be the best player on this team. But then the next season came, which was the beginning of this past season, and I feel like a lot of questions were answered. And the biggest question that was answered was, can Mikal Bridges be the best player on your team? And I don't really think that's the case. So the Brooklyn Nets this past season, they finished with a record of 32-50, which landed them as the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference. And yeah, I mean, Mikal Bridges was the best player on that team. So you get to see exactly what he was able to do with all that pressure, with the spotlight being on him, with the defensive schemes from the other team being drawn up to 100% shut him down. And he wasn't really able to step up to the plate. Now, the argument that you can make is, okay, he only had 1 season. You know, this was a different role for him. He has to get adjusted. So now that he had that 1 season under his belt, now he knows how teams are going to attack him. You can make that excuse for him. But if you've just been following basketball, I don't think Mikal Bridges I just don't think he's going to be the best player on your team. I think he could be a viable, very viable piece to a core group. And when you talk about Mikal Bridges joining the Knicks core group, his Nova college teammates, the Nova boys, joining Jalen Brunson, joining Dante DiVincenzo, joining Josh Hart. Like, look at the chemistry and look at the camaraderie that Dante, Josh, and Jalen Brunson already have. And if you just insert Mikal Bridges into that lineup, like, I feel like it's going to do wonders. So Scott Davis isn't the only one talking about this rumored Mikal Bridges being linked to the Knicks. We also got Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer giving his 2 cents. And if you take a look here, The Ringer's Kevin O'Connor doesn't think the door on a Knicks-Nets trade is totally closed. While calling Bridges a perfect fit for the Knicks, O'Connor says that Bridges could be had for the right massive price. Would the Nets be willing to trade Bridges to the Knicks to join his Nova buddies? Based on my conversations with people around the NBA, I believe so. If the Knicks are willing to overpay, but Bridges would be worth it. And like I just said, man, there's something to be said. There's something to be talked about for chemistry. I feel like in today's landscape, like, the whole idea of chemistry and camaraderie, like, I feel like that idea is kind of thrown out the window. And I feel like everything in today's world, it needs to be sped up. Perfect example is the NBA champions, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I feel like the NBA crowd got really tired of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown making it to the Eastern Conference Finals season in, season out, winning the Eastern Conference Finals, or being eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals. By the time they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, like in their 3rd straight season, and they didn't make it to the finals, or if they didn't win the NBA Finals, I feel like a lot of people were just off the bandwagon. And I'll be the first one to admit that, like, after last season, when they lost to the Miami Heat in 7 in Boston, after going down 3-0 and then tying it up 3-3, I honestly thought that the tandem of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I honestly thought that they needed to break it up. I feel like it has run its course. I feel like we saw everything that we were able to see from that tandem. And I was wrong. I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong. They were actually able to break through. They finally got that championship. Jaylen Brown has finally got that monkey off his back as far as being, can you win with him being one of your two best players on the team? Jason Tatum is another conversation. Jason Tatum, if you saw the more recent video that I put out, Jason Tatum still has that monkey on his back. He still has to win the Finals MVP, because if he doesn't, he's always, that conversation, that narrative is always going to be around his name, that he's the best player on his team, but he doesn't have a Finals MVP, and that's going to look super crazy on his resume. Going back to how chemistry and building camaraderie is such an important component in today's NBA landscape, like the Boston Celtics, you do have to give them credit. They were able to stick to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown through all those years, through the failures, through the ups and downs, and now they have a championship. Now they have banner 18 to race. So tying it back into Mikal Bridges, Dante, Jalen Brunson, and Josh Hart, like the three of them, we saw what they were able to do this season, going to a Game 7 in the second round. And the only reason why we weren't able to capitalize is because we just had too many injuries, and the players that we had on the floor were skeletons of themselves. So imagine next season, if we're able to retain OG, if we're able to retain Hartenstein, and if we trade for Mikal Bridges, now we got a starting five of Jalen at the 1, Dante at the 2, Mikal at the 3, Julius Randle will more than likely have to go to the 4. And then if Mitchell Robinson could somehow stay healthy, and if he doesn't get traded this offseason, Mitchell Robinson will be starting at the 5, and or Isaiah Hartenstein will be starting at the 5. Actually, I take that back, because I feel like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, if we're able to retain OG, I feel like that's going to be the competition in training camp. I feel like that's going to be the competition in practice of who's going to have that starting 3 slot. And I mean, I think it's safe to say, I don't know if it's safe to say, but between Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, man, that's a tough call, man. That's a tough call, but it's a beautiful problem to have. It's a beautiful problem to have if you're a Knicks fan. Honestly, I would give it to Mikal. And OG probably not going to like that. And if we do retain OG, he's probably not going to like that because of the amount of money that he signed. But OG's injury prone, bro. Look at what happened when he got traded to the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau and the whole narrative of him running his players into the ground. OG Anunoby never played for a coach like that. And the next thing you know, he's playing 42, 44, 46 minutes a game in the playoffs, and then he pops his hamstring. So can some of it be attributed to Coach Tibbs' coaching and the amount of minutes that he plays his players? Or was that just a freak accident? And I don't know what it is exactly. But one thing that we could certainly say about OG is he is a little bit injury prone. Whereas Mikal Bridges, he doesn't really have much of a history of being injured. So like I said earlier, that'll be a beautiful problem to have in training camp, and Coach Tibbs and his coaching staff really trying to evaluate Mikal and OG and who's going to take that starting 3 slot. But for now, like I said, Jalen at the 1, Dante at the 2, Mikal at the 3, Julius at the 4, Mitchell Robinson and or Isaiah Hartenstein at the 5, meaning Josh Hart and or OG Anunoby will be coming off the bench. Like, we have the pieces to compete, man. But maybe the duel between Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby may not have to happen, because Mikal Bridges, he is listed as a small forward and also shooting guard. So maybe you have Jalen at the 1, Mikal at the 2, OG at the 3, and then Julius Randle at the 4, Mitchell Robinson and or Isaiah Hartenstein. That means Dante and Josh Hart will be coming off the bench. There's a myriad of options that we have, which again, it's a beautiful problem to have if you're a New York Knicks fan. Again, I know I'm living in hypothetical land, having Mikal Bridges being part of the New York Knicks. Right now, it's a really big what if, and I'm getting really ahead of myself. But I would honestly be more excited for Mikal joining the Knicks from the chemistry, camaraderie side. I really wouldn't be ecstatic that we get like some all-star type of level player, because Mikal Bridges never really proved that to us yet. I just think that if we're able to build a team that has all of the components, that has a reliable bench, that has everything in order to compete with the Boston Celtics, I feel like this season, if we were healthy, we would have been able to compete against Boston and really give them a run for their money in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not saying we would have won. I'm not saying it would have been to a Game 7, but maybe a Game 6. I think everybody healthy, I think it's safe to say we would have brought them to a Game 6. So now imagine next season, we got Mikal, we got a healthy Julius, we got a healthy everybody. Josh Hart, Dante, Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, like everybody healthy. And the Boston Celtics, they're bringing back their exact same group. It's a really, really good chance that the Knicks are going to be looked at as the only team in the Eastern Conference that's going to be able to compete with the Boston Celtics. But guys, that's it for today's video. I want to say thank you so much for checking it out. Leave it in the comments and let me know what you guys think about this proposed trade, sending Mikal Bridges to the Knicks. And unfortunately, we would have to send out Deuce McBride and Bojan Bogdanovic. The Deuce is loose. But until next time, guys, I'll check you on the next video. Knicks all day, baby. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. Taj Gibson for president. The deuce is loose. I'm sorry that I had to talk about you as being trade bait almost, but you still got my support. I still salute you wherever you are. And until next time, I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.